So my name is Leacey Brown. I'm with SDSU Extension. I'm a gerontology field specialist. Some of you have had the, should I say pleasure or torture of meeting me before?
Pleasure.
Awesome. Do you know what gerontology is?
It's old.
That's exactly right. I'm a scientist who studies old people. Who would imagine? I'm going to let Kristi introduce herself.
And my name is Kristi Barber, and I and my husband own a construction company here in town. We've been in business for about 27 years, and I am also an aging in place specialist. So what my role is to go into people's homes and do room by room assessments of those rooms to see if there's anything we can do to make those rooms safer. So I'm just supplemental for Leacey today.
She's the expert, don't want to fool you. If you haven't, we've got a little handout if you'd like to take notes. Has anybody not received this? This gentleman in the back, and I guess Clyde, can I have one too? All right, before we get started, I'd like you to talk at your tables about the word home. What does home mean to you? Talk in your groups about the word home for about 2 minutes. And your groups, Clyde.
Pardon me?
Your wife is in your group. You better have some nice things to say about home.
Ooh, we just bought a new one last night.
Wow. Really? For real?
Yeah. For real.
Any other, you want to share some thoughts about home? What is home to you?
How long have you guys lived in your home?
It's a safe place to live.
It's a safe place.
Yeah.
And how long have you lived in your home?
How long?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one you're in now.
Let's see, it's been since 91.
Since 1991. I'm going to just write that number in the corner. So, but what does home mean to us?
My home is my haven.
Haven.
My safe place, like she said, my safe place.
Safe. I like the word haven though, because haven is different from place. Any other thoughts about what home means to us? Or what do you think of when you think of home? We've got safe haven, safe place.
I don't think of any, but I just think it's a nice place to go.
It's a nice place to go.
Yeah.
I get fed there.
I get fed there. It's a place to eat. Sometimes. So that's part of home. It's that place where we eat and we prepare food. It's home to us.
I suppose they're going to say watch TV.
So could we just say relax, a place to relax?
Watch the football game, watch the...
Relax. Football, I heard entertainment. I heard something.
I'd like to run around in my house going jammies. I mean, it's a place where you don't have to get dressed up. You can be yourself.
Be yourself. That's a really good, it's a place where you can be yourself.
Or independent.
Say that for me again.
Independent.
Independence. Any other thoughts about home, what it means to us? What about our families, our memories of maybe security?
How about your neighborhood? Do you know your neighbors and your neighbors' kids and the pets, maybe? The route to get there. I mean,
A lot of them like treasures.
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 Our can I say memories too? May I say treasures and memories? Do any of you garden or anything like that? Tell me about gardening at home and what that feels like.
I just like to get out there and play in the dirt.
That being able to play in the dirt, you know, and having that.
I grew up on a farm, so it's...
I'm with you. There's something about having your fingers in your dirt, in your garden. There's just something about it. It's a really, gosh, the word escapes me at this point, but it's comforting, it's relaxing. It's where I go when I kind of just need to think.
It used to be therapy for me.
Gardening? I should write gardening. And because I like gardening, it gets an exclamation point.
I think accomplishment too, you've been able to secure your own home and keep it and make it your own.
Make it your own. I like that word and that phrasing. Any other thoughts? I mean, you guys have got some really great thoughts here about what home means to us.
I spend so much time over here, I don't live at home, I only sleep there.
It's a place to sleep, but it's nice to have a place to sleep that's the way you want it to be. It's the temperature you want it to be. I don't know about you, but the warm temperature a couple of weeks ago, I was having trouble sleeping. We're just going to throw sleep. Anything else you want to add to the list before we jump into the meat and potatoes of the presentation?
Well, one thing, and I don't know if it pertains to anybody else, but we've had a number of houses, but we've made all our houses home. You know, we made home wherever we were.
So there's another way to say that, because the house isn't necessarily what makes it home. It's what happens within the house that makes it home.
The functions and the happenings, I don't know.
Functions, happenings. I like that, because that's what Kristi and I are very interested in, is how we can keep doing those things in our homes that actually make it a home. Because without those activities, it's just a home. But it's all those different things that we do while we are at home that really builds our relationships with the people that we love. So this is really great. If you think of anything else, we're more than happy to revisit it. So,
Well, I could advertise, or I just moved, and it includes everything that's up there.
that's wonderful. And that's exactly the goal here, is to make sure that we can always have a home that allows us to have all these different elements that make it home. Okay, so I'm going to tell a story that I heard, because I think that'll kind of help with where we are. I had the pleasure of leading a panel discussion about housing. Because housing, to me, it's very important. And if we want to remain independent, which everything I see says that is important, staying independent for as long as we are able is very important. So I got to lead this panel discussion, and we had a caregiver on there. Her father was in a motorcycle accident with a deer. He was paralyzed.
Could you speak up?
I can, yeah, sure. I have a voice that projects. So a caregiver, a woman, her father was injured in a motorcycle accident with a deer, paralyzed. They were living out Nemo Road. Yeah, Nemo Road sounds right. When he gets sick, it happens really quickly, really, really quickly. And on New Year's Eve, he got sick. Well, we all know what December can be like in South Dakota. The ambulance could not get to their home. They had to call the fire department to dig them out. Fire department went up the driveway, dug them out, transferred the father to the fire truck, drove him down the road to the ambulance, and then the ambulance brought him into Rapid. So these are kind of the things that we're really interested in, we're really passionate about, is our home is really important. We're going to focus specifically on the inside of the home and not necessarily where it is in relationship to services. But that home is a critical part of what we can do to keep ourselves independent no matter what we're facing. So we're going to start out. I've got some common barriers to independence, and we'll talk a little bit more about each one. And Kristi's here because she knows more than I do. And she's going to throw in stuff that I forget. So I guarantee you I will forget, and then she will help me. So barriers to independence. Door handles. There's round door knobs. Faucets. They've got the two knobs on them. Well, we've got some pictures. The width of our hallways and our doors. And that also includes the space to get around. You know, if you've got big furniture and small walk areas. The location of electrical controls. In my house, I've got an older home that was built in 47. They're on the floor. Steps. One step can be a barrier. Bathrooms, laundry rooms, and kitchens. And we're going to go into the three bottom ones a little bit more detail. And we're going to say right now, we will not cover everything. there's just too much. We've got some handouts for you, and we can ask questions as you think of them, but there's no way for us to cover everything. So this one's easy. I'm gonna let Kristi talk about this, and I may throw in some other things.
Well, so door handles, you want to have an L-shaped door handle because as we get older, we lose our dexterity in our hands. And grasping a door handle that has a push with the thumb, I have one at home, and it is horrible. But with this one, you can use your elbow, you can use the back of your hand. You don't have to necessarily use your fingers to use it. And so it's much easier to get in. The lock set those are challenging as well. And I know specifically my mom's is really challenging. And I would love to find a way to be able to upgrade her into something easier to maneuver. Because getting the key in there, and then if you don't have your light on over your porch at night, you're home late, you can't see where your key goes, and so it's all just really challenging.
Well, and that one's not even an age issue.
Yeah.
Not being able to see, because we've since replaced our little teeny tiny low power single bulb outdoor light with 2 big bright LEDs. Oh my gosh, I'm super thrilled because I can see when I come home. Before, it was, even with the light on, you could barely see the lock. So that lighting is really important. There are some other options where you can use technology solutions. You can use codes. You can use codes. There's
Electronic key lock with a card, like a hotel room. You could use one of those for you to open up your door.
Are there any voice activated?
I'm sure there are. I just don't know.
because
I'm not familiar.
biometrics is kind of the way they're going. So I wouldn't, if they haven't done thumbprint yet, I imagine it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Or maybe face or eyes. I mean, you could get really very technical.
Well,
as you're trying to get into your house.
And we'll kind of sit here with the front door for a second. There's even options where you can get cameras, where it's kind of like and you can look at your cell phone or you can use a computer. So if someone rings your door, you can have a camera where you can see, and when you're dealing with, say, someone who has Alzheimer's disease, that could be really helpful for knowing maybe if they go out. That can just be kind of another tool to kind of help with some of the really complicated challenges. So any other questions about door handles?
One thing about lighting outside, you can get a solar light installed, so when it gets dark, the light will automatically turn on. We did that at my house because my husband and I always get home after dark, and so we didn't do solar light, but our light is on a timer, and so it turns on at 4 p.m. and it shuts off at 10 p.m. And I can turn it on and off at will if I want to as well. But I know that I'll have a light on when I get home so I can stick my key in the door and go in.
And the light that I installed is motion detector, so it's really nice.
Yeah.
So those are some good, that's a simple solution. So we're gonna jump forward. Bathroom faucets, this is one that folks don't think about a lot. As Kristi described, sometimes, our dexterity doesn't work as well. Maybe we have arthritis. Maybe we have a temporary injury. Maybe we get hurt, and trying to use the knobs with the 2 handles can be quite challenging and frustrating. Using that single lever can really simplify the process. They even have touch options available where you can just touch it with your hand, or you can do the sensor where you put your hand under, or you touch it with your hand and it'll turn on. So these are some nice solutions that are available if arthritis is concerned, dexterity, injury. There's a lot of different ways that this can be helpful.
And you can also, if your water comes out really hot and to the point of potentially scalding, you can also lower the water temperature on your water heater. That happened at my house, and I just feel like when I'm washing my dishes, if my water isn't really super hot, I'm feeling like I'm not getting them clean enough. So I had it turned back up, but scalding is something to really be aware of, especially with hot water.
And because we become less sensitive to temperatures as our skin changes, and especially if we're dealing with folks who have some frailty issues, they're really, older or whatever, that could be a serious problem of not being able to sense the temperature, and that can lead to some pretty serious injuries, and the skin is also thinner as we get older. So
let's talk about cost for a
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah.
brief instance. So a faucet over on the right-hand side, you could pick one up at Lowe's for 20 to 30 bucks. And a plumber is gonna charge you $60 to $85 an hour. And it shouldn't take him longer than an hour to get that in. Or if you are yourself are very, very handyman equipped, then you could do it yourself too. But it's not a very expensive solution to potentially making life easier for you guys or for whoever in the bathroom, and not scalding yourself.
And I put the kitchen's one on a separate, but they have similar options for the kitchen. I was totally Menards. And I need to get a new faucet fixture for my kitchen, and I saw the touch one. I was super intrigued, you know, because whenever you're out cooking and you're saying you're using meat, it would be nice to be able to touch it with my elbow and not have to touch anything else. So those get spendy. They
Those are
do.
expensive,
They're expensive,
yeah.
but I was really intrigued by those options. Hallways and doors. Oh, I'm gonna let you start on this one because this one's hard.
So my father-in-law started construction here in town back in the late 60s, and he built Robbinsdale area. And Robbinsdale has a lot of homes that have 2-foot wide doors, short hallways or narrow hallways. And so trying to maneuver, get a walker or a wheelchair down that hallway into the room is just impossible. It's literally impossible. So widening a hallway to a 3-foot hallway is really where we want to be, 36 inches, and we want the door to be at 36 inches as well. And that is a more expensive renovation.
Mhm.
It all depends on, there's so many layers. Your finishes, your wall finishes, if you have electrical right beside the doorway, where electrical runs along the wall, what your flooring is, baseboards, you have to replace your doors because they're gonna be wider. So that's not a cheap fix.
It's not a cheap fix.
No.
And I've heard a story. I mean, not only is it important for if we have to use assistive technologies like the walker, the wheelchair, crutches, or whatever, I've also heard stories of emergency services. They can't come into these homes because they cannot use a flat board in these rooms because they can't take them around the halls. So this is even the challenges, and this is huge. We understand how big this is. But the challenges go beyond the fact that we may need these because, you know, we develop a disability or we have an illness or we have an injury. It goes into that basic, how do we take care of ourselves? So that it's huge. It's overwhelming. And as she says, it really depends on what's going on in your home. And the open floor plans are actually really supportive for remaining independent as, you know, for our whole lives because they're wide open. There's no halls. It's not that hard to take out extra furniture so you have more walkway, you know, and we'll talk about some low-cost solutions because we understand this one's pretty steep. Pocket doors are another good option.
They are.
Because if you do have that small space and you have the space in your wall to support it, you can still get a wider access to a room.
The beauty about those Robbinsdale homes, does anybody live in Robbinsdale? They're not that big, you know, so there's not a lot of space that you have to, not a lot of ground to cover if somebody does come in, emergency personnel, but they're cozy. They're cozy
I don't
homes.
think, or maybe they do have a regulation that you have, all doors have to be 3 feet or something like that.
You know, they don't. Unfortunately, they don't. They should. We really need
I mean,
to
for
have that.
emergency things like that, it's
Yeah.
mandatory for there.
Yeah.
And private housing is the only thing that's not affected. There's some regulation in private housing, but it's not quite like what you see in public buildings, apartments that have rental properties. The regulations are very different. Like the ADA applies to all public spaces, but the ADA doesn't apply to housing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I predict that will change. For everything tells me that it's coming. I mean, if you look at the fact that people want to stay in their home, I mean, the evidence is overwhelming. People want to stay in their home. The state is #1 payer when it comes to long-term care for adults, low-income adults who need assistance. State's #1 payer. They're starting to figure out that it's a lot cheaper to keep people in their homes than put them in a nursing home. And if the state's gonna try to move to home and community-based services and our housing stock cannot really support that, it seems like it's coming,
Yeah,
you know? So
just not fast enough.
it's not gonna be fast enough. I mean,
Unfortunately.
consumer, and part of the reason Kristi and I like talking about this is to get consumers to start thinking about it. I mean, we wanna get, we're gonna work on getting into young people. We're working on how we can get them to start thinking about it. But if we wanna see a revolution in our housing stock, consumers have to start asking for it too. Electrical controls. So I've just got some examples on here. Go, Kristi. And it probably should have just said controls because
I'm a big proponent of light in homes. If you've got dark hallways, dark spots, places where because you're so familiar with your home, you know what's right there. And so you don't really have to worry about it. You can walk by it with your eyes closed and be able to maneuver around it. But really, lighting up those darkened areas is very important. A light at the top of the stairs and at the bottom of the stairs so you can see where you're ending up on each end is so important. Night lights, motion sensor lights, solar lights, they are very low cost and they can save anyone from a fall, a stumble, a trip.
a pet getting kicked.
Yes.
I kicked a cat recently. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But he was at the bottom of the stairs and the stairs were dark.
Yeah.
And I kicked him. But about another point about the electrical controls. Realistically, you should be able to access them from a seated position, whether it's down. And you gotta remember that I can bend over like this. Some folks can't. So it needs to pretty much not bending, you need to be able to access it from in this kind of area. There's probably specific measurements, and Kristi probably knows. But it's important to be able to access. So think about the kitchen. Where's the garbage disposal control? Where's the control for the vent hood? All those controls, and that's why I should just say controls. Because all these different controls that we have to access to be able to interact with our home. Because remember, our home is just a building. It's what we do in our home that makes it a home. The location of these controls is really important. Any other comments about the controls?
They have motion lights for in the house as well as outside of the house.
Yeah, I have them all over in my house.
Yeah, they do. Like you'll see them in public restrooms a lot of times. They'll have, it's this really weird looking switch that's got this little like bubble on it. And though when somebody opens the door, the lights will turn on. You know, so those options are available.
They
What would
plug
they
in.
cost?
Well, they cost $2.50 to $3. They plug into an outlet, so it's just like a nightlight, but during the day it's off, and at night when it gets dark, it turns on. And in the morning when the sun rises and it detects that light, then it shuts back off.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you buy those?
You can buy those at Lowe's, at Menards, at
Walmart,
Kmart,
yeah.
Walmart.
They're just little
Target.
night lights, yeah. And these are just little night lights that respond to the ambient light.
Yeah.
You know, there's probably motion sensor options, but those are really great because I have them. I have one in my bathroom. You know, I have night lights. I'm a big advocate for night lights, except for I kicked a cat. I don't have an outlet switch on my stairs. That's right. That is his fault. But they're great because you can have them everywhere and you can see it. My house is kind of soft glow at night, the whole thing. So, and that's important. That's good for all of us. You know, I'm 35 and I can tell that my night vision is changing. I can tell that it's already changing. So it's helpful to have that extra light. So, stairs. Oh my gosh.
There are, in Rapid City, every time I go, I drive around town, I look to see how many stairs are on a front porch. And there's always stairs on a front porch. I know building code requires us to have a certain amount of inches onto our porch because of the type of weather that we have. So we have wind, we have snow, we have rain, sleet, ice, and by raising our front porches, it helps us keep out of the elements a little bit. Mm-hmm. But there are so many two-step porches that have no railing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how they do it.
And those 2 steps don't seem like a big deal until you're using a wheelchair, a cane, crutches. I mean, okay, here's my story. I am graceless. I'm going to tell you how graceless I am. So when I first moved to Rapid City, I lived on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator. I decided that I wanted some popcorn at work. And if you can't tell, I have tons of energy. It's kind of ridiculous. But as I was waiting for it to pop, I was bouncing from foot to foot. My left ankle rolled and broke. I spent several weeks climbing 3 flights of stairs on crutches in October. It's not even about being older or disabled. It's about the fact that I don't know if you all knew we're human and we're frail and we can be hurt at any time. So those 2 steps, they don't seem like a big deal. And we've got a picture on one of our last slides. We've got a picture of a house that was renovated, that last picture. And I'll tell you about that house. And we'll talk about what they did. Those steps are everywhere. A lot of the houses are split levels. You know, and the thing is, sometimes people have the misidea that for a house to be ready for lifelong independence, it has to be a ranch, no upper stairs. No, that's not true. There's only 2 things that you really have to have on the main floor: an accessible bathroom and a bedroom. You can still have an upstairs. You can still have these things. You just have to make sure there's a place where you can sleep and do personal cares on the main floor. So steps, that's a big one. Let's see what's on my next slide. Bathrooms. I put a lot of pictures on bathrooms because that's probably the #1 barrier to remaining independent is our bathroom. #1. I probably would arm wrestle on being correct about that one. That's the #1 barrier right there. So this one, Kristi, you're the one who goes in and inspects homes. Tell us about this bathroom.
This bathroom is not set up for universal design, which means that it covers, universal design is design that is built for people of all ages, from small children all the way up to our grandmothers and grandparents and great-grandparents. So this bathroom...
Do you want me to turn the lights off? Will that make it easier to see the picture?
Probably
There's one right here.
Oh, that's what it is.
I see a couple of things wrong right away. This space right through here is very narrow. If you are in a walker or a wheelchair, you're going to have a hard time getting over to use the sink.
Or get in the shower.
Or get in the shower. The beauty part about the shower is that it is a low threshold. See?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to step over the bathtub to get into the shower. This looks like a towel bar or a grab bar. It's hard to tell right now. Stool is over here. It's just, it looks beautiful. You know, it's a beautiful bathroom. I just don't know how functionable it would be as I'm getting older and need to have things more accessible to me.
Or if you're ever pregnant. A pregnant woman, a universal design is good for a pregnant woman because let's face it, the end of pregnancy is tough. You might need those grab bars. You might need those features.
Yeah.
So this is one bathroom, and then this one is not full-on universal design, but it's got some features that would make it more friendly for somebody who uses a wheelchair. Do you want to point them out?
Sure. The fact that there's no threshold on the shower. The stool area looks relatively, there's a lot of space right in here. So if I'm in a wheelchair or I'm using a walker, I have plenty of room to go in and turn around and sit my little buns down on the stool if I need to.
The shower head on there, you can see that it's got the handheld grab is down low. The picture's not perfect, but that grab for the handheld is down low so you could access it from a seated position. I don't know that there's enough space under that vanity, but I think that vanity would be usable. What's up?
Well, I have anyway, I visited a house yesterday that's being built down in Arizona. And I had never seen a shower like that. It had a handle, and the shower head could be down here, or they could slide it up and it could be up there.
And that's what universal design is, because you wouldn't know, you would not even think, oh, that's great for if I'm ever using a wheelchair. You wouldn't think that. But it's there and it's built in. And that's what, I love universal design. And I've got some pictures at the end that are full on universal design.
That handle is probably a grab bar too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
has
Oh, I'm
been
sure.
fastened into the studs so that it will
Yeah.
support anything that is grabbing it so that you don't fall. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Another thing about bathrooms that we want to
There's another picture.
strive for is a handheld shower head on a hose. That way, if I have to sit in a chair when I'm in the bathroom or in the shower, or I'm sitting on a bench, I can take it off the hook and I can bring it over and I can shower myself off. And that helps me maintain my independence. Nobody has to come in and help me do that. I can do that all on my own.
And that's important to a lot of folks, is being able to do those personal cares for ourselves. So I just put a lot of examples of bathrooms in this slideshow because, as we said, that's one of the most important rooms in the house that really can make or break our ability to remain independent. The space between the vanity and the stool, somebody who uses a chair would probably not be able to use this bathroom very comfortably. There's no space to access the sink. This next picture, this one's not full-on universal design. This one's more accessibility, but it's pretty good looking accessibility, don't you think? So it's got, there's a teeny tiny threshold to get into that shower. The grab bars are in there. You can't see in the picture, but there's a bench. So if you needed to be able to sit, you could. A person who uses a wheelchair would be able to roll up to the sink and use it. And if you just say you were injured and maybe you just need to be able to sit to use the vanity because you had a temporary injury, maybe you had surgery and you just need to be able to sit, you could bring a chair up and sit. And that's really what this is. So none of these pictures are full-on universal. I've got one at the end that gives you an idea. Laundry rooms. This is another expensive one. I'm going to let you just be the bearer of bad news.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. So, laundry, using a front control washer and dryer with front loading is probably the easiest way to go. This is also energy efficient. My washer and dryer are 22 years old, and I know that they last forever. But anyway, having a space so that you are able to access it from a sitting position is very important if you need to. Having a place to hang up your laundry, do your folding, etc., etc. Having enough room in your laundry room so that you can maneuver around in there is very important.
A lot of laundry rooms are basically in closets. They're in like hallways, And 36 inches is probably, I imagine, the recommendation there. If you don't have that 36 inches, it's really difficult to use. Another strategy is to put these two appliances on a 10 to 12 inch platform. Because again, if you have to use it from a seated position, that's not very comfortable to have to lean into. But if you've got it at a height where you can reach into it from a seated position, that's a lot more comfortable. That's part of the reason having those controls on the front so that you can operate them. A lot of laundry rooms are in the basement. That's hard.
That is hard. If your laundry room is in the basement, please bring it up to your main level. Please. There's just so much risk involved with carrying a heavy or not so heavy laundry basket up and down a flight of stairs where it may be dark. I know people who put stuff on the sides of the steps because they're looking for a storage space. And, it's out of the way, but when you're using your steps up and down, it's just an unadded risk that you could be putting yourself into. So if you can, main floor living, that's the way to go. Totally the way to go.
And I know it's convenient to have them in the basement because you have a nice big laundry room. If nothing, at a minimum, plumb for them upstairs. At a minimum,
Yes.
If you're building new, at least plumb for them so they can be moved upstairs. Because that's where the laundry room can be really expensive. If you've got to do an addition to add them or move plumbing, that's where it gets really steep. But I know we may dread doing laundry, but it's kind of part of life. It's part of being independent, and making some changes can be really helpful. Storage, being able to access storage from a seated position. I watched a video online. I'm kind of a junkie for this stuff, so I go and find videos. The gentleman was talking about in his kitchen, they kind of took out the storage space underneath the kitchen so he could access it. He was injured in some sort of accident. I don't remember what. So he had no space under the sink in the kitchen, so he didn't have any storage under there. But the lifts for the washer had drawers, so all of his cleaning stuff is stored under there now. There's some neat videos available online. Kitchen. Kitchen's another one too. There's a lot in the kitchen, a lot. I'm gonna let Kristi go. She knows more than me.
This kitchen looks like a very nice kitchen. It doesn't look like there's a lot of room to travel around inside the kitchen, which could cause some issues with mobility.
I'll come help point some stuff out too, because
Yeah.
the kitchen's a complex room. This microwave up here, could you use it from a seated position? How about the stove? Look where the controls are. My fingers are pointing, I'm helping. You couldn't really access those from a seated position. I've seen, and this is expensive, that's where universal design really depends on the finishes and the appliances. There are stoves that have a side hinge. When I saw that, I was tickled pink. I'm like, I want that, because when I was doing the turkey at Thanksgiving, trying to lean over that oven to pick it up, it's hard on the back. But if you have a side hinge where you can get in there and lift it up, you know, so there's some really neat options. The French style refrigerators, they're a better fit for people who use wheelchairs or people with walkers, or if you've got an injury, they're a better fit. Even these drawers are actually a better fit for people. Dishwashers, here's another neat one. Anybody, does it hurt your back to lean over and get the dishes out of the dishwasher? Anybody but me? Hurts me. You can elevate your dishwasher 10 inches as well. You know, they recommend ovens, actually, is it 34? I don't remember the measurement, but ovens, they recommend to be elevated.
I think it was 34.
Wow, 34. I might get a brownie point. You know, so there's tons, and I'm going to tell you, there's tons, but these are just common things. If we want to be able to do those things and activities that make a house a home, kitchen's a critical room. I mean, I think about my grandmother. She loved to cook. She loved to have her family with her. But as she got older and she got closer to the end of her life, it was harder to cook. I'm confident that if her home had been remodeled so that she could use her appliances, use her fridge, she could have maintained her ability to cook longer. It's just making sure that the environment fits us. I have another kitchen here. Any comments about this one? It's pretty similar to the other one.
The thing about kitchens, bathrooms, so typically we really only live in a few certain rooms in our house all the time.
Right.
You know, the kitchen is my spot. And if you keep the items that you use the most available, within easy reach, and try to keep other items that you don't use as much out of reach, maybe it's stored away somewhere so you're not trying to fight to get to it, that makes things a lot easier as well.
Oh, and there's some really awesome kitchen solutions. There's storage, and you may have seen some in your houses where you can pull them out. Like you'll have the big pantries. You can pull them out. That is fantastic for a person who uses a wheelchair, because you can pull it right out and you can get to that item in the back. You
And
know?
then some of those self-close. I mean, you just push them in a little bit and then they close on their own. Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then if we want to go really, really like fancy smancy, they even have countertops that lift up and down. I mean, there's some pretty incredible things that can be done. And shelves, they have shelves that pull down. There's some really spectacular things that can be done in our homes to help us be more independent. You know, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you like to use the internet, Universal Design House, Google it, and you will just see amazing pictures. What else do we have? Oh, here's the dishwasher. I was gonna say, I brought pictures so you could see. So there's a traditional way. It's kind of down close to the ground. And you see this woman using one. It's probably up about 10 inches. Look at the difference between the way she's bending down and the way she's bending down. So, and that could be injury prevention, really, doing stuff like that. And that's what a lot of this stuff will do. It's injury prevention. Okay, strategies to remove barriers. So I'll start, and then you fill in where I'm missing something.
Okay.
So accessibility, that in its simplest way of explaining it means people with disabilities can use the space. It doesn't say use the space comfortably. It just says use the space. Accessibility. It focuses on people who have disabilities. Universal design, as Kristi described, that's for people of all abilities, all shapes, all sizes, all ages, everything. And the key for universal design is they want people to be able to use that space with minimum adaptation. So you're not going to need something special to be able to use the space. Remodel or build from the ground up as accessible. So go, I'm going to pass it to you.
Well, so remodeling versus new construction costs are all over the board.
I'm going to just jump you forward.
There's a lot of things that, excuse me, you need to take into consideration if you have a home that you absolutely love, but it's an older home. If it was built between or before the 1950s up until the 1970s, it could have asbestos around the pipe. It could have asbestos underneath the VCT tile as part of the adhesive. It could have lead in the windows. All of those things now we cannot use to build anything new. And if we do renovate something that has those things in it, we have to get those out before we can move forward. And that's building code. Part of the beauty about new construction is that you can really hone in on what you like and what you want. If you want a main floor level, if you don't want any stairs, don't put any stairs in. If you want all main floor level, then you decide which rooms are important to you and how you want to use them, and you throw that into your construction. Renovation, you deal with structural issues with the building itself. If it's structurally sound, how long is it going to last? And this room, this looks like a bathroom. You're trying to fit into that bathroom. So if I want a 3.0 door in that bathroom, and 3.0 is 36 inches, that door to me looks like a 2.0, a 24-inch door. What are we going to have to do to change that out? And how is that going to affect the surrounding walls? And, you know, the bathroom itself looks pretty narrow as is. But it's doable, you know. I'm a proponent of each. If you, it all depends on what it is that you want to put in your home, how you want your home to be. You can do just about anything in it to a degree. So we've been doing a few bathroom remodels for people in the Robbinsdale area, and the beauty part about that is that most of those homes are, I'm not going to say cookie cutter, but they're very similar to each other. The bathrooms are all 5 feet wide, and the bathtubs are the steel bathtubs, and you know, some have windows on the backside and some don't. A lot of people that I've visited with want to get their bathtub out because they are concerned about stepping over the tub to get into their shower, and they just don't want to have to do that anymore. We are running into costs of $2,000 to $3,000 to put in a low threshold shower in there, and it's for the people that we've done it for. They absolutely love it. And I make sure that there's a grab bar along the backside, and there's one as you're entering into the shower, a vertical one here, and if you need one over here.
Well, Kristi and I rule the world. All bathrooms that have grab bars,
Yes.
but we don't rule the world.
Yes.
So
that's probably.
I mean, it's you're going to have to talk to a contractor if you own a home and you want to if you want to talk about renovations. You're going to have to talk to a contractor. That's just all we can really say about it. Low-cost solutions. We know. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, all these renovations and stuff, and when you're looking at homes, they come at a cost, at a premium, they're not cheap. Is there any, like, funding that assists that type,
You know, there's
out there?
different, that's a deep question.
Yeah, because the ideas are good, but some people just can't afford it.
I know it. I know reverse mortgages are
An option.
gaining more momentum these days. A lot of people who have paid off their homes They don't want to have to sign something that,
Yep.
you know, I mean, once you've paid off your home, you're like, woohoo,
Mhm.
I am past that debt now.
Mhm.
But they're, like
Well,
a
we're gonna-
government loan, not really.
And there are some programs that will do modifications, but these are basic ramp, real basic stuff. You're not going to get the stuff that's going to maintain the aesthetic appeal of the
Right.
home and the style, you know. And we're working on figuring out how to get into more people's minds that we need to start thinking about this sooner. You know, this should just be what we do for homes from now on. It's going to take time. There's some support, but you got to be dirt poor. I mean, you have got to be really and have a high need.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we've been looking, and I think we finally found one that's going to fit.
Oh, good.
But some of the ones we looked at are, I would not pay that much money to have that because,
Our housing market, I feel, is a bit skewed.
yeah, I
It's,
agree.
there's not, you know, the ranch style homes, the one level homes, there's just aren't enough of them. And when you do find one,
You got to move.
you have to be there yesterday,
That's
you know?
what we did.
There's one in my neighborhood that went. I think it was on the market on a Friday. By Monday, it was gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the one we're looking at right now, it's not even on the market yet, we just have it inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's gonna work, we'll see.
Yeah.
But you got good connections that can give you some ideas.
Do you have a hammer?
So we wanted to provide some low-cost solutions because, as you're describing, these renovations can be pretty steep. But there are some low-cost things you can do to help. I mean, when you're purchasing new appliances, aim for ones that have controls that can be accessed from a seated position. These are some of the things, and these are the things you want to plant in your head so that when you're making changes to appliances, that you think, oh, let's make sure these controls are in a good spot. But other options, changing door handles, changing faucets, adding supplemental lighting, toggle switches. That's, Kristi, I put that on there because you said so. That's just a flat one, right?
It's just it's flat and you press up on the top and it turns on and you press down. So it's just a really easy light switch. You don't have to do anything special to it.
Mhm.
The declutter, you know, making space in your homes to maneuver is so very, very important.
We could probably do a whole presentation on downsizing. We probably could, because really that's what we're getting at. I mean, I just heard a story from a colleague she used to be a professional caregiver, and she had this woman that she assisted, and she wanted to do things, as I'm very supportive. I want people to do things. I know it makes us feel good, but the challenge is where a lot of the items, like the overflow storage, was in a spare bedroom that she couldn't get into because she had limited mobility. So it was so cluttered that she couldn't get around. You know, so decluttering, and that decluttering is making sure you have 3-foot walkway going around all of your furniture. You know, making sure there's space to get around. Storage is actually a pretty low cost. If you can put in those fancy cabinets that we were talking about, but a simple one could be make sure that the items that you need to access most frequently can be accessed from a seated position. So they just need to be at this level. So that's an easy thing you can do, is just make sure, like, and the heavy stuff, put the heavy stuff down here. Don't have it up here, put it down here. Those are little things you can do that don't cost a lot, and they can make your home more friendly for lifelong independence. Other comments?
Well, you want to think about the future. So if we all had crystal balls, we would all know what was coming down the pike and we'd be able to prepare ourselves for those things. There are a few things that we do know. I know I'm getting older. I know stairs are getting harder for me to climb. I know that I don't like not having any lights around my house at night because I'm going to run into something, or the cat's going to trip me, or something's going to happen where I'm going to fall. And I know that my recovery from an injury is going to take longer for me to get back to where I was before. So what I'm doing, I need to think about what can I do now that's going to help me maintain my independence for the future. So one thing that I'm really kind of a pain in the butt on is throw rugs. Right? My mom laughs because I'm always after her to get rid of her throw
I
rugs.
noticed some were are gone.
Throw rugs, there's, unless they have the rubber backing or you have actually secured them to the floor, they're slippery, they move. If you have them in front of your door and your threshold your door is not high enough, so it's gonna move and it could cause a trip hazard. So throw rugs, if you have to use throw rugs, secure them to your floor, something, to make them stick down so that they don't, so that you're not tripping over them. The lighting is a big deal for me. Grab bars. We've been putting in a lot of grab bars over a stool so that the man of the house will have something to lean on when he is doing his business. We've also put in, there's some really awesome, innovative equipment now that you can put in your homes to make things easier. There's a handrail that you can put, if you have a garage and you have 2 steps up into your house, there's a handrail that can attach to the wall. We want to put it on a stud so it'll stay there, but it folds up and it folds down. So when you're not using it, it's going to be fold down flush with the wall. It won't be in the way. Also, right beside a stool, the same type of apparatus, so that when you're getting up and you're getting down, if you don't have enough room to put a grab bar beside your stool, this one can be either attached to the floor or it can attach to the wall. There's just some really awesome things out there that don't cost a lot of money that you can put into your homes to make things more accessible for you. So I think my message for everybody in here is to just think about where you're at. Think about where you're at, think about where you want to go, and, how can I make my life easier here? That's what I'd like for everybody to do. Sorry, I went off on my little
No, that's fine. That's why I made you come with me. I want to just jump to grab bars, and we do have our low-cost solution, but grab bars have a stigma, and sometimes we don't want to put them in their house because it'll look like a hospital. There's some really creative options out there. There are grab bars that are towel rods. So we know that towel rod that always pops off the wall, they're grab bars. So it will never pop off the wall. And it looks like a grab bar, or it looks like a towel rod, but it's a grab bar. There are options that look like toilet paper dispensers. There are options that look like soap dishes. So there are options for grab bars that blend into the decor of your bathroom. So there's some really neat options that can be thought about. So what's on my next slide? Cost of care. You talked about cost. And I'm going to grab the look at your slides. So these are the costs, because I've got the individual day costs. I will read these to you. I just want to get to the daily cost, because cost is a concern. Cost is a huge concern. But I wanted to bring up the cost of long-term care, because 7 out of 10 people will need long-term care. That is a fact of being human. So I should have put that one on the bottom. But anyways, we'll start at the bottom, because I just like to do things backwards sometimes. So a semi-private room costs $6,000 approximately, that's the median, on a month in South Dakota. So that's the median. So that means half the people are paying more than $6,000 a month. Average nursing home stay is 2.5 years. The math on that one, I should have done the math on that one for you. Whatever 60,000. You're doing the math, I can hear you. I'm gonna let her do the math.
It's about $220,000.
$220,000. So think of it in that way. For 2.5 years, $220,000 for 2.5 years in a nursing home. Assisted living. I don't have the average stay for an assisted living, but in assisted living, $3,300 a month. Someone recently told me their parents were paying $3,800 a month for an assisted living. That's a month. 2.5 years. That's a lot of money. Adult daycare. So adult day health services. So basically, what this is if you we have one here in Rapid City. And you can take a loved one, so you have a loved one who has Alzheimer's disease. You can take that loved one to the adult day, and they can be there during the day, and then you can still work and do other things. So the adult day a month is about $1,700. homemaker service and home health aid. And this is monthly costs. And the reason why I wanted to steal Kristi's printout is because people typically, they only need a few hours a week. So for the homemaker services, daily cost is about $144 for homemaker. And that's just the person that's gonna come in and maybe help with laundry, maybe help with cooking, maybe do some light cleaning. That's the homemaker service. About $144 a day. If you need help with like medical stuff, maybe wound care, medication management, other stuff, that's a home health aid. That's gonna cost about $147 a day. Typically, most people aren't gonna need, they're only gonna need a couple days a month, typically. Do you have a hand go up, or you just are leaning? Oh, just so excited. So yeah, so why we wanted to bring these numbers up and show you is, yes, home modifications cost a lot. They do. There's no denying that. But when we start talking about the cost of care, because realistically, if you have modified your home, you can do this and stay there until the very end of your life. That is the honest truth. But you have to have the modifications in place. Because it's not even just about our own disability. It's about our caregivers who are trying to help us bathe in a bathroom, a bathtub. That's not, I mean, that white bathroom that had that little narrow hallway. Could you imagine if you had to have help, your loved one trying to help you in that room? Any questions about this? I lost my clicker. What are the benefits of this? Because there are benefits to doing this. If you do modifications to your home for the accessibility or the universal design, you will likely be able to remain in your home, whether you face a permanent disability or a temporary injury. So if someone falls and hurts their hip, instead of going to the nursing home, they may be able to receive care in their home if the house is designed properly. So that's benefit number one, more likely to stay in your home. Benefit number two, you reduce the risk of your injury. This is a universal design bathroom right here. That's universal design. It's only a partial picture. There's no threshold to get into here. There's a bench. There's an adjustable shower handle, and they must have it all the way to the top. But that's universal design. And this picture also links to the next benefit. So I'm gonna stay here for a second. It maintains the visual appeal of your home. People are scared of, I think cost is probably the number one reason why people aren't making it. But I think number two is people are scared their home is gonna look like a hospital. And nobody wants their home to look like a hospital. That doesn't look like a hospital. I think it's missing a grab bar though. Just shame on them. But it's probably got the reinforcement already in it to add it, because that's one thing universal design will do. They'll make sure they have the studding spaced appropriately so you can put them in. If we have time, if we're doing good on time, I may try to show you the before of this. This is a universal design. What time is it? 11. Oh, we're almost done. This is a universal design home. This was not always a universal design home. This is one that there was a design challenge. So 3 businesses, or 3 big funders, You saw that? I love it. So the advocates for universal design challenged architects to take an existing home and modify it for universal design. This is the final product. Oh, and they only could use $75,000. That was their limit of their budget, $75,000 to remodel this home. This is just one picture. You should go look, like there's other pictures. There was a porch on the front of this house, and that's what you were talking about, those steps. You notice that's a ramp that goes all the way up. That's how they dealt with that issue. So that's another benefit. Whenever you are able to do universal design, no one knows that it's accessible except you. And then that can be really appealing, because you see those commercials for those step-in bathtubs? I personally hate them, because what's the next owner going to do? They're going to rip it out. And people, that's the problem. I mean, you want it to be something that's going to maintain the value, because some people are going to walk in like Arlene, and she's going to see that walk-in tub, nope, and walk away.
Well, actually, it might feel pretty good.
Until the water has to drain out.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Here, let me give you guys some light. Let's shed some light on this tree. So watch your eyes. I'm going to turn the light back on, maybe. There we go. Oh yeah, we've got this document. I'll let Kristi tell you what it is. She helped me make it.
Actually, you need to do that because you wrote it.
You helped. Fine. So this is a docket that I had Kristi help me. She proofread it and made sure I was completely off the mark because she does know a lot more about construction than I do. But it's a little, on the second and third pages, there's some questions to kind of think about. You can read over them about your home. So it's got a little checklist that you can go through and say, okay, does my house have this? And this is, planning for including your home modifications, but it can give you some things to think about. I'm going to grab a copy from you so I can remember. It's been a while since I've looked at my question. I work with, this is me. That's me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm on here, but Kristi helped me. Okay, so some of the questions. Are steps required to enter the home? I mean, that's an important question. And and when we have a home that we want to make sure we're independent for lifelong, it doesn't mean it has to be on the ground. It just means that one entrance to the home has to have no steps. So maybe it's in the garage, it just means one entrance. Are the doors at least 36 inches wide? So there's just 2 pages, I think, of questions to kind of help you think about your home. So as you're walking around and looking like, okay, are there things that I can do? And then there's a budget worksheet to kind of think about what needs to be done. So this is just to help you when you go home, because like I said, we won't cover everything. There's no way we can cover everything. But this can get you thinking, as you're looking around your home about what can I do to make sure that it's ready for lifelong independence. So any questions, anything?
Well, these are probably good ideas for people that are moving into apartments too.
They are, absolutely. And you look at this questions, like making sure you have your night lights. If you open up a cabinet and there's no lighting, there's some motion sensor lighting options that you can just stick in there so that when you open the door, a light will come on in cabinets. Absolutely, there's a lot of good ideas that are good for people, even if you're moving into an apartment. Making sure that the items are at a level where you can reach them from a seated position. It makes it more comfortable. So absolutely. I mean, we were talking a lot about home modifications, but a lot of this stuff is good for if you were in an apartment.
Well, a good share of the people that I know are ready to move into apartments. More so than a home, remodeling their home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, making sure that the apartments that you're interested in have some of these amenities. Yeah, for sure. I want to tell you guys, one thing I saw at Lowe's a couple of weeks ago is a lighted toilet stool. Not the stool, but the seat. So when the lid lifts, along the back side, it lights up. It's the coolest thing. It's like $50. It was the coolest thing. I almost got one for my husband. I haven't yet, but I'm thinking about it.
Really, that's the purpose of it.
Well, it's just,
You see that light, that's as far as you can go.
no, it illuminates the bowl so that he knows where to aim.
This is just a neat thing.
Well, no, that's a good point. It can help me too, I'm sure.
But it sounds funnier when you blame him.
Yeah, it does.
I'm glad you got that question.